I spent quite a long time wondering whether I wanted to share something this personal on this channel, but I realized that for this one topic, I want to make an exception. Before we start, I need to tell you one important thing. In this video, I'll be talking about the eating patterns I used to have when everything was driven by tension and about the pressure that can build around food. If you feel that this might be difficult for you right now, please remember that you don't have to watch it at this moment. You can always come back when you're in a better place. And just to be clear, I'm not a specialist. I'm only sharing my own experience. Do you also know that feeling when you're not hungry and very hungry at the same time? Your stomach isn't rumbling. You don't feel any of the usual signals that tell you it's time to eat. Actually, sometimes your stomach feels full, sometimes too full, but somewhere in your mouth, somewhere on your tongue, something very specific appears, an urge, an impulse, a need to eat a very particular flavor. And it's not a regular craving because the flavor changes after a moment. First sweets, then fast food, then sweets again, and then fast food again. And what's worse, that feeling that you have to finish everything. Not one cookie, one chip, but the entire package. Once you start, you have to finish. This is what was happening to me for years. But one day something just clicked and everything completely shifted. How did that happen? I had been going to therapy for a few months, but I was working on completely different topics at the time. One day, I casually mentioned that things had been tough lately and that I wasn't proud of myself because, of course, I was slipping back into my old patterns again. My therapist stopped me and said something like, "If this keeps coming back, maybe it's worth looking into it." He explained that there is a defense mechanism where a person needs to keep their mouth occupied with a cigarette, constant sipping of water, or emotional eating. That's when he showed me a simple psychological model called the triangle of conflict. On one corner, there's the behavior or defense mechanism, in my case, reaching for food. On the second corner, anxiety. And on the third, hidden emotions that subconsciously drive the whole cycle. We reached for the emotions wheel so I could explore what that hidden emotion might be. I sat with it for a long time because nothing seemed to fit. But then I found something close. I started with the main emotion, weakness. Weakness was divided into smaller emotions, and there I noticed one, losing control. Bingo. It was the first word that truly resonated with me. That maybe what I was doing wasn't about food at all. And even in that office, I still didn't fully understand it. But at some point, I felt that I wanted to make a decision. I wanted to try letting go of control around food, even if I didn't know how, even if it felt risky. I just wanted to try. And now imagine that at that exact same time, I had a perfectly structured 3-month weight loss plan. Every workout and every calorie planned. Each day marked green if I followed the plan, red if I didn't. The perfect environment for someone who needs control, right? That day after therapy, I came home and deleted the file. I decided that I truly wanted to try living differently, that I wanted to treat myself like a human being, not a project to complete. But there was something else in my story. I had always given people a lot of energy. Whenever I entered a room, I was immediately the person who would chat, smile, check on everyone, crack a joke, make the day a little nicer. And, it's lovely. People automatically like you more. But I was doing this all the time, nonstop, as if I had this be nice to everyone button that had been switched on since childhood. And I only noticed the cost of it much later. For example, at the gym. I would go to work out, but before I knew it, 3 hours had passed because I chatted with everyone. Someone about work, someone else about the weekend, someone needed comforting, someone needed cheering up. And suddenly I realized I hadn't done half of my workout, or I did it poorly because I was focused on other people. Nothing bad happened, but I left the gym exhausted, emotionally exhausted. At one point, I realized that I was giving everything to everyone and leaving almost nothing for myself, and that this also affected my eating. Because when you give all your energy away, all you're left with is tension, and tension wants to be released. In my case, with sweets. The hardest part was breaking that pattern, going to the gym and telling myself, okay, I like these people, but today I want to focus on myself. And I knew people would notice the drastic change. And you know what thoughts show up then? What if they won't like me anymore? What if they find someone else to talk to? What if I stop being the person everyone recognizes, likes, invites? It was really hard because it was part of my identity, but I did it. I stopped giving all my energy away. For some time, I barely talked to anyone because I needed to rebuild my boundaries from scratch. It was a small withdrawal period, but a necessary one. And you know what? It turns out mature people understand that. They don't run away or get offended. They respect your space. And if someone doesn't understand it, they probably didn't need to be in your life in the first place. And when I stopped existing only for others, I also stopped silently expecting energy back. Energy I wasn't getting anyway. And that was another game changer because I began focusing on myself, on what I want, on what matters to me. And do you know what grew out of that energy? This channel. Instead of giving myself away, I started building something of my own. And the gym? I still talk to people. I'm still kind. But within boundaries, I set. And suddenly my workouts improved dramatically. I wish I could tell you exactly what happened. The precise moment when I stopped feeling that urge to eat out of tension. But I can't. The moment was strange. I was eating sweets, just like always. And suddenly I felt that I didn't want to continue. I ate 2 cookies instead of 10. I put the package back in the cupboard. And it lasted me a long time. And I'll be honest, I felt a huge wave of fear then. Not fear of food, but fear of the calm that suddenly appeared. It felt so unfamiliar that I was afraid to lose it. Because, if something lasts for one day, you think, maybe coincidence. 2 days, okay, interesting. 3, something's wrong here. When a week passed, I became genuinely worried that it would disappear. That feeling of stability, of no tension, of the absence of that mouth impulse, it was so pleasant that I was scared it would vanish as quickly as it came. But it didn't. And that's why I say that something clicked, it just happened. When I understood my defense mechanisms, my mind seemed to say, you don't need to defend yourself anymore, and it stopped generating the tension. And when there's no tension, there's no need to release it through eating. My body started regulating itself, but I'm not careless. I can finally look at sweets as normal food, but I have a few rules that help me maintain balance. Rule 1, variety. Even the best thing becomes boring if you eat it every day, and boredom can also create tension. So I keep a few types of snacks at home, different levels of sweetness, different textures, and I eat them in very small amounts. And yes, I keep them only because I now know I won't devour the whole package. That would have been unthinkable for me before. Rule 2, I eat sweets right after a meal, usually after lunch and dinner, when I like to follow something salty with something sweet. Not big portions, just a small cookie or a small bar. It totals about 200 calories a day, around 10% of my food. But I make sure the rest of my meals are well-balanced and high in protein. Rule 3, brushing my teeth afterward. I don't know if this works for you, but for me, this fresh feeling cuts off the urge to keep eating. If I don't brush my teeth, I want to taste just one more thing. So brushing is my way of saying, okay, mealtime is over. Here's something interesting. When the tension started leaving my body, my sweet cravings began to disappear, and other things did too. My migraines just stopped happening. I stopped checking the weather constantly, the time, social media, all the little things that used to give me a fake sense of control. If the topic of tension interests you, I can make a separate video on it. Let me know in the comments. So how does it look now? Did I eliminate those tension-driven eating moments 100%? If I'm completely honest, no. Some time ago, as a little test, I bought a limited edition box of chocolates. Actually, 2 boxes. They were only available during the holidays. You couldn't buy them online. You couldn't get them year-round. And I'll admit, I ate them both in one day. And you know what? I'm not angry at myself. Because I understand why it happened. First, they were delicious. Second, they were unavailable. And unavailability creates tension. When something is limited, special, rare, the brain treats it like a threat. Soon it'll be gone. And that's when you feel you must have it now, immediately, all of it. And that's something I still work on. But the difference is, now I understand it. I know what caused the tension. And the most important part is, it hasn't happened again. So how does it look day to day? When I chose to let go of control, I also let go of the idea of dieting. My goal was simply to stop having those tension-driven moments around food. Now I eat intuitively. I eat what I want, but within healthy, balanced meals, with a small addition of sweet treats, naturally, without effort, without huge calorie swings. Sure, a slight caloric deficit won't give me a dramatic transformation overnight, but I already went through a much more important transformation, a transformation in my mind. And with that transformation, I can work toward any goal, not just the physical ones. One last very important thing. When I wasn't aware of what excessive need for control was doing to me, I watched tons of videos about food, dieting, weight loss, and I was only adding more tension. So if, after watching this video, you feel that this is also about you and that such content might be difficult for you, please take care of yourself first. I truly appreciate that you're here with me, and if you subscribe to my channel, I'll be very grateful. But if I ever upload a video about food and you feel it might trigger tension, please don't watch it. You can still support me by watching other videos on my channel, and when you feel ready, you can always come back to these topics. This video is based on my personal experience. One of the most important parts of my story was therapy, because that's where someone helped me see things I never would have connected on my own. If you feel you're dealing with something similar, seeking professional support can really make a difference. If you feel like sharing, you're welcome to tell your story in the comments. Maybe you've had similar experiences, maybe something shifted in you after therapy, maybe you also had a moment when something suddenly clicked. I'd truly love to read it. And maybe someone else will read those stories and think, okay, so it really is possible to get out of this. Thank you for being here with me and for listening to my story. I really appreciate the time you spent with me. See you in the next video.